how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Amityville Theater. This is from 2015, directed by John R. Walker, and stars Monele LeStrat, Linden Baker, and Gary Martin. Now, a few things with this. The Amityville Theater, this is actually a Canadian/UK co-production, and was also known as the Amityville Playhouse. Had to change it to theater for the States, because when we think of Playhouse, we tend to think of like a little plastic house for children that you put in your backyard and they go and play in. That's not what this is about, but actually imagining a little plastic Amityville Playhouse, that would be kind of funny. It's also worth noting that later they would kind of revamp this graphic, take away the and change it to just Amityville Theater, and put in this sort of like half Ghostface from Scream, half Phantom of the Opera-like character. It's a cool design, but he's not in the movie. So if you see that and are excited, not really. And I mean, the theater in the movie is not near as cool as this either, you know? You just gotta get a good graphics package, I guess, right? But anyway, I picked this up around the time it came out, and I watched it a while ago, and I remember thinking that it was kind of boring and underwhelming. Well, I picked it up again in order to do this review, and yes, that is a perfect way to describe it. Kind of boring, kind of underwhelming. It's not the worst Amityville film out there, and you know, there are dozens upon dozens, but it just doesn't really hit anything special. And I think it's important to say why, because there are lots of films that are bad because they're lazy, and that's not why this is bad. I think if you look at the credits, you see a lot of the names are repeating. You can tell it's low budget, and a lot of these people probably don't have a ton of experience, and I can forgive that much easier than a lazy film. It's just a low budget film that just didn't pan out great. But the thing is with this movie is there are definitely some elements that really kill it, and the first thing we have to mention is the acting. Your five leads, these kids that go into the theater to camp, they're universally very bad. They're very wooden, they're very unnatural and unrealistic, and they also do this thing where they take weird pauses between their lines. I do not like this. I am concerned. Yes, I'm concerned too. It's just weird wooden acting, and the idea that all five of them are all this way, I really wonder, was that the casting director picking these types of people, or was it the director going, no, slower and clearer and less emotion? I really don't know, but it's all so stiff, and I don't usually complain about acting. I'm not an acting snob, but yeah, it's just not good for these five, and just the main five. Everyone else is kind of okay. I don't know what happened there, but the acting is stiff, and in turn the scares also don't land. A lot of the scares in the movie are like, I was your friend and now I have makeup on and I'm talking in a weird voice that the editor manipulated. And at the end of the day, it just feels like an actor standing there. It's not super scary. There's one of the scares where she goes into the auditorium and then there's a bunch of ghosts in the seats and they all turn and look at her. And it just feels like a shot of actors looking at the camera. I've seen this type of scare work before, and it just really didn't here. And it is partially because I think everything's so flat, and there's not a really good manipulation of tension. And yeah, the script and the directing are pretty weak in here. When you direct, you have to think about the through line of the scene, and maybe it's best to try to explain what the scene's purpose is in words in order to see what you're trying to go for. I'm with this character, I'm locked in a room, I'm scared, I'm looking around, everything's dark and dirty, and I can't find a single way out, and then I hear something. You know, if you try to think what path your audience should go down, that does help. But here, the descriptions of the scenes are more like the characters are in the room and they don't know what to do. You have to ground yourself with a main character. And the main character in this, I know she's the main character just because of scripts and logic, but she has the same level of intensity as any of the other actors, and, you know, it doesn't really super focus on her. And it's like, you got a cool, creepy theater, but it might as well just be a background, you know? You don't really feel like you're in the set, and as far as what to do, there's not really a clear goal in any of these scenes. You know, it's just kind of wandering around going, that was kind of scary. I wonder if we can get out. Probably not. Let's go to this room now. It's just such a unfocused mess with no real, you know, energy or anything beyond it. So it's wooden acting in a not scary scene in a plot that ultimately goes nowhere. And it's just, you know, I think they were probably trying, but it's just one of the flatter movies. Not the worst Amityville ever, but yeah, it's just underwhelming and sadly, nothing super special. So, yeah, not great. In order to analyze this further, I want to go ahead and talk a bit about the plot. I'm not going to do any major spoilers. I just want to dig in, analyze more, and talk about what works and doesn't, but I don't have to ruin the ending to do that. So, without further ado, into the plot. We open up with our main girl, and her parents have recently died in a fire. Oh my gosh, that's huge and traumatic. Don't worry, she's not feeling anything, she's barely reacting to it. And of course, we don't actually see this, we just hear about it, which I get, the cool visual would cost money, but boy, that would have been a cool opening scene. But anyway, she finds out that her dad owned a theater, but it's been inactive for like 5 years. It's just sitting there. And she says, before I decide if I want to sell it or not, I want to camp out in it and spend the weekend there with my friends. Okay, fair enough. So she goes to the theater with her friends, and again, this group is super wooden. The worst of the friends, though, is her boyfriend. This character is just so grating and annoying. Like, he's always in your face, he's always antagonizing and teasing and being mean to everybody, and he makes a ton of homophobic jokes. Anyone else survive the early 2000s? These things used to be everywhere, and again, just always in your face, always grating, but delivered in the flat way that everybody acts in this movie. Now, he has a brother, and the brother's actually a nice guy, and you think, okay, main girl is with the wrong guy, there's gonna be a love triangle here, right? And she's gonna learn, like, oh, what was I thinking, I should be with the other one? No. Somehow this obvious plot point is missed, and the brother has really not much to do other than get bullied and wander through the haunted house. You then have a girl there that complains like she doesn't get that there's no cable TV in the abandoned theater. And then you have guy with bandana who, I don't know, he's in the movie as well. So your cast of flat characters, they do find a squatter there who's a little bit better of an actress than the others. And they say, oh, it's okay, you've had a hard life, be friends and camp with us. Which is totally not realistic, because squatters can be a very serious issue, and in reality you would call your camping done here and call a lawyer and the police. But, you know, it's a friendly person, we'll just hang out with this stranger and it'll be okay. But whatever. They notice they're stuck when they try to get a pizza. Yeah, that's when they notice the tear, is they want a pizza and their phones aren't working, and they notice the door's locked behind them. So that's what cues them into the danger, and then from there, meandering through the theater. And the thing is, like, one of the movie's big flaws, and maybe I should have mentioned it earlier, you're in a theater. They spend a lot of time in the back rooms of the theater. And don't get me wrong, the back rooms, the back of house where people aren't supposed to be and seeing it, and it's all tiny and maze-like, that's a cool place to be. But they don't use it really well. They don't embrace how dark and creepy and how easy to get lost it is. It might as well just be a series of background images. But B, and this is the big thing, is we came to see the Amityville Theater. The theater, show us the auditorium more, show us the stage, maybe have a little set out there, show us more of the like where the audience sits, the chairs, and for, you know, throw a sandbag on someone's head, do stage play stuff. But you barely see the auditorium, and I'm like, why would you not have a good chunk of this movie if you're the Amityville Theater? Embrace the theater. But this movie really should be the back of house of the Amityville Theater, and I wish this was more a stage play movie, and it's just sadly not. Now, that's the bulk of, like, the main thoroughfare of the movie, but we also get the British subplot. Like I said, this is a Canada-UK co-production, and we get this weird added-in thing. You have the teacher, who's a British guy, and the student at the beginning of the film says, "Oh, I inherited this theater," and he goes, "Let me look in on that for you." And we know what's going to happen is he's going to go look in a book, see something spooky, and then go and try to save them. We see it coming, we know where this is going, just do it. But no. It turns into this whole thing. He has to have a flashback about when he left England, and this conversation where it's like, the priest and his sister-in-law is a scientist. Can they ever be friends? How are they friends? It's a stupid conversation that thinks it's deeper than it is, and him leaving England has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. But anyway, after that, he's got to go to a bookstore, ask for books on Amityville's history, rather than Googling it, and then he's like, "You don't have enough books, show me the library." But then the library's closed, and then he has to go to a hotel, and the hotel says, "You can't stay in Amityville?" And I'm like, "You're a hotel?" And then he bribes the guy with about as much cash as a hotel room would probably cost, and then he's in his hotel, and then he reads the books from earlier and gets nothing out of them, and then the next day finally goes back to the library during hours of operation, and of course sees something creepy in the book and runs off to help them. All that, the past in England, the other bookstore, the bit with the hotel, why is there padding in this movie? The movie's like an hour 40 long. You didn't need this. Minimal distribution is 75 minutes. Why is there so much padding? I don't know. And plus, it's not just his flashback in England, but all the other scenes he's in, even the ones that are supposed to take place in Amityville, are so obviously still in England. It's this weird British segment, and I'm like, this is long, chop it down. At least the acting is a little better, and it does shake things up, but what the heck is going on with these scenes? Why are they even in here? But anyway, whatever. It does lead to a kind of interesting finale when you find out what's going on, but doesn't really save the movie. Like I said, I do like the stage, and I do like seeing the back of the stage. You know, when I was in high school, I actually used to build sets for the high school plays. It's a world I'm fond of, and I really wish this movie was better, but it's meandering and flat, and it's just not great. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more, you can click there and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.